There's an opportunity in crypto which is becoming extremely obvious. In fact, it might be the biggest opportunity of Q4. Today, we're going to run through that, exactly what it is, exactly how you can benefit, and we also have a bunch else to talk about. We've got some very interesting price action developing on Bitcoin at the moment. We obviously have FOMC tomorrow, which is a massive, massive rate decision. So I want to talk about my exact plan heading into that. And then at the very end of the video, after I talk about the biggest opportunity of Q4, I'm going to go into a section called Rapid Alpha, where I give you a bunch of altcoin ideas and narratives that I'm looking into around this period in the market, which may very well be a volatile period, but we all know volatility in crypto tends to create opportunity. So I think today is going to put you in a really strong position to actually capitalize. If you do enjoy videos like this, where I give you the latest crypto alpha, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the post notification bell for daily crypto alpha. We're only dropping bangers on this channel. Hopefully you enjoyed the content last week. This week is going to be, I think, even more eventful, not only with what I want to discuss today, but also with FOMC, which I'm going to cover probably after the rate decision and give you a recap of exactly how it's going to impact the market. Firstly, let's take a look at Bitcoin, just with some basic TA. We actually have broken above the channel high, so this does look like it could potentially be a breakout scenario. The only thing that's making me a little bit wary of this is, one, we have FOMC, so opening brand new trades or taking breakout trades into such a volatile event can be a little bit dicey. And two, if you actually look at the 1 hour, so this is the daily, and this is the 4 hourly chart of this range structure. But if you go onto the 1 hour, there is a micro range starting to form on the lower time frames, which has basically been since the 12th of September. So it's been chopping like this for 5 days. And you can see you have range high locally at 116.7 and the local range low is at 114.6. So this is actually the range that I'm trading off right now in terms of any lower time frame trades, because I can't with confidence, take a daily breakout trade right now. That's just probably not the way to go with this volatility in the market. But once FOMC is cleared, I may consider, let's say we break out to the upside, a breakout trade here to push us back towards all-time high on the daily charts. That's basically how I am playing Bitcoin right now. And if we start breaking below these lows, that will be a signal for me to potentially de-risk. And that is probably also going to reflect onto altcoins. When it comes to de-risking and opening new positions, typically you want to use Bitcoin as like your base asset that you trade just to get a general feel for market momentum. And then you typically want to apply this general forecasting to the altcoin market, because most altcoins are going to play against Bitcoin's strength or Bitcoin's weakness. Recently, it's been great to do this with Ethereum because Ethereum has been leader of the alts, but I tend to find during major macro periods in the market, for example, FOMC, the attention does tend to skew back towards Bitcoin as that guiding star for the market. Hence why I'm going back to trading Bitcoin just with a little bit more focus than I have in recent times. So I got a really interesting question in my Discord. There's a channel called Questions for Miles, where I answer questions every single day. Someone asked me what my plan was into FOMC. They said they were fully in cash. Should they be deploying? Should they be opening trades beforehand in case there's a good rate decision and the market skyrockets? Should they, be staying defensive in case there's a bad decision? And I think overall, it begs the question, what do you do strategically into FOMC? Well, I don't really like to let these rate decisions impact my thinking too drastically. So I may de-risk a little bit into the event. Like I took some profits over the weekend and early on Monday just to bolster my stablecoins a little bit. But the only reason I'm doing that is so I have opportunities to buy back into the market if there is a dip. So I think one of the best ways to play FOMC is look at the strongest alts. We're going to discuss a few today and set stink bids on those alts. So if price does react in a negative way, you are potentially getting some fills and some potential quick V reversal trades during the actual event. This has been a profitable playbook that I've run many, many times during these events. Look at the coins that were exhibiting the best relative strength beforehand. Hyperliquid and Pump are examples of that, but we're going to get into specifics later in today's video. Set stink bids, and if you do get some fills, great. If not, I don't think FOMC will run away from you. Even if it is relatively dovish, I don't think Bitcoin goes to all-time high the very next day. Typically these things will see an instant reaction, but the market will settle down. And if it really was a good rate decision, that actually holds us in good stead for multi-month or multi-week, which at least gives you some time to get on board the train. So, to answer this question directly that I got asked, I probably wouldn't be rushing to deploy stablecoins pre-FOMC, because you're going to have the benefit either way. If it's a bad FOMC and the market drops, you might get a buying opportunity and if it's a good FOMC, yes, the market might run up, but when it starts to consolidate, because I think this would be a multi-week or multi-month trade, you'll get entries to actually get in on confirmation. So the more information you have in the market, the better you're actually able to tweak your decision making. The less information you have, the less confidence you're going to have with sizing. And we know how important position sizing is in crypto, because to actually make a lot of money in crypto, you need to have the right conviction. So right now it just feels like a bit of a gamble to be deploying, hence why I'm not doing it and why I'm looking at opportunities that the FOMC could potentially create. And there's a tweet here from Gum that says, how much does it really matter anyway, what the rate decision is? Markets go up over time. And I think this is pretty valid at the moment, given, how expansionary monetary policy has been, how M2 keeps going up, how gold has broken to new all-time highs. I don't think that regime would, switch overnight, even if power was slightly hawkish. And ultimately, that leads me to believe the business cycle is not over. So I'm expecting still new highs at some point in the next 2 quarters on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So for that reason, I wouldn't want to let FOMC shake up my thinking too much. So to recap, I think something you can do as a bit of actionable alpha from today's video is set stink bids on strong alts. We're going to talk about what the absolute strongest altcoin is in the market, and an altcoin where I'm still looking to actively position in just a second. But before we get into that, I want to answer comment of the day. So you guys know that every single video I'm answering one comment, and if I pick your comment, you win $500. So congratulations, Pity Huff. You have won today. I'm going to read out and answer your question. You can go back onto the last video. This was on September 12th. So this video here. And if you could just reply your wallet, either on the Solana blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain, I'll be transferring you USDT. We'll actually double check it is your username, but you need to go back to the last video and reply to yourself. So the entire point of this is you can leave a comment, but you need to watch the next video to see if you have won the giveaway. So you'll be winning $500. And if anyone else wants a chance at winning $500, all you need to do is ask a question in the comments of today's video and you could win tomorrow's giveaway. So Pity asks, here's my question. How many more crypto cycles do you see where millennials and the lower class can break free of this generational poverty? Essentially, that's being created by the broken financial system. Financial institutions coming in is a double-edged sword. Appreciate your work from the Phantom days. Yeah, shout out that you've been a follower for so much time. That was a while ago, but those DeFi days were super fun. To answer your question, I definitely agree that financial institutions coming in are a bit of a double-edged sword, because although this is like what we've wanted for so long, it also reflects that our industry is maturing. And mature industries aren't as volatile, and the more efficient the market becomes. Now, I must say, I still don't think we're at the point where we are a fully efficient market. There's still lots of asymmetries, and we've seen with the narrative I'm going to discuss very soon in this video that there still is a lot of attention on chain and gambling and speculation that's happening on chain. So it's still not a fully efficient market, but clearly over time, the edge gets eroded, and you can argue on Bitcoin and the majors and ETH, maybe, that edge has already started to be eroded a little bit, creating less opportunity. But to directly answer your question, I still think there's massive opportunity in crypto. I still think there's opportunities in every single cycle. Clearly, this one will be more volatile than the next one, and probably more volatile than the next one, but we're in a really interesting stage from a macro perspective where crypto and Bitcoin specifically is almost breaking out to become its own macro asset class. But to truly break free, as you asked, of generational poverty, I think you've got to reframe your mindset a little bit. Crypto is an amazing vehicle to potentially develop an edge and make money. It's an amazing vehicle to compound wealth via investing, but your real tool is going to be your economic productivity, aka your income. So any younger person that I'm speaking to, I'm assuming you're a younger person because you're calling yourself a millennial, your major focus should be, what can you do today to become a more economically productive human? And I think there are massive opportunities in AI. There are big opportunities in crypto. I'm going to speak about an income opportunity in today's video that isn't even an investment. It's just a way that you can make money in the space. Your whole mindset should be revolving around, how can I make more income? Because that gives you a buffer. Income equals time. It allows you to take more risk in the market, and then it allows you to compound your investments at a faster rate and extract more out of crypto. The bigger your portfolio size, obviously the more opportunity you have, the more you can diversify and the more darts you can throw. But without a strong income, it's actually quite hard to build a portfolio and a strong returning portfolio, which maybe isn't what everyone wants to hear, but it's the truth. So I think people should really focus on what can they do to move the needle. And it doesn't necessarily mean going and starting a business or becoming an entrepreneur or hustling online. It could also mean just, how do you squeeze a little bit more juice out of your 9-to-5, out of your salaried job? How can you provide more to the company? How can you develop skills today that are going to be valuable in the future and that other employers might value in the future. So, knowing how to produce and utilize AI, knowing financial markets, having skills that aren't necessarily like hard skills, more soft skills, communicating, speaking to people, public speaking. These are all things you can develop to help give yourself an edge. So without going on too much of a motivational tangent, I actually thought I'd answer the question a little bit differently from what other crypto creators would say. So that is my alpha for the day. Pity you won $500. Go on to the video that you left this comment on 3 days ago on September 12th. Comment your wallet address. Just let me know if it's a Solana or Ethereum wallet, and we'll deposit USDT there. And if you want to ask a question to anyone else watching this video, ask it below, and in the next video someone else will win 500. Just a fun series that I'm doing to engage with you guys. And if you don't reply within 3 days, it's going to expire. So make sure you are watching the new video. So at least watching the new videos within 3 days to make sure that you actually claim your giveaway, because there's one person that didn't leave their wallet address and they've got roughly 1 day to do it, or else they're not going to be able to win. So I want to make sure all the winners actually are aware of the fact that they won and comment their wallet address. So we discussed before about setting stink bids on strong alts, and I think this is a natural segue into probably the strongest altcoin in the market. But beyond that, probably the biggest trend overall in the market heading into Q4, and that is PumpFun. What I'm about to explain to you right now is much deeper than just a trade on the coin, although I do think there's a good trading opportunity on the coin. I'm going to go through my exact setup in just a couple of minutes here. There's a much bigger opportunity which ties into what I was just discussing, a potential to make income, a potential to be on the early end of quite a powerful flywheel, and just an opportunity overall. And I'm going to explain what that opportunity is today and hopefully help you guys make money, just like I hopefully helped you guys make money with this tweet here on September 6th where I posted my portfolio. It's funny, I had pump in this portfolio. It has roughly gone up 80% since then. But on that exact same day, Ansem said that the crypto market has topped. So built different, I guess. The day that Ansem says the market's topped, I posted this portfolio. This portfolio is up substantially. ENA, MNT, Pump, Hype, all up double digits. And, Ansem, if he actually was short or offside, has probably not performed the best over the last week or so because the market has had a recovery. Since then, he basically bottom called. But what's happening with Pump is remarkable. It's not only the price action, but it's the reason for the price action. So I was actually going to make this video yesterday, but then I decided not to because I wanted to see how these live streams went. So we've had a lot of big creators like Alex Becker and Ran actually starting to live stream on Pump. What really surprised me about their live streams was how much money they were able to generate in a small time span, and this actually changed my thinking slightly around PumpFun. I knew it was a big opportunity, but I didn't realize the magnitude would be this big this quickly. So let me give you some context. Alex Becker made over $300,000 from a 2.5 hour stream on PumpFun, and then he actually gave it back to other streamers. Ran made over $15,000 in one stream, and his streams are only like 30 to 40 minutes versus the 20,000 they've made on the last month for 140 shows. I can tell you right now, without disclosing the amount I make, it's a lot less off YouTube ad revenue itself. It's much lower than this 20K figure. So even this is quite a high figure, but the fact he was able to do almost just as much as ad revenue in a day, or really in 40 minutes, is absolutely insane. And he didn't even push this token, by the way. He literally called it a test coin and told people on the show not to buy. If he had come out and said, buy this coin, something's coming soon, I'm sure the volume would have been closer to Becker's. Becker's was like 300K. This also would have been 300K. So it shows you can make hundreds of thousands. And Becker also didn't push his coin that hard either. He was giving money away. He could have made millions if he actually decided to push it. So this now becomes a very viable avenue for people with an influence, for people with attention to actually monetize, and a much more viable and effective time versus output way to monetize versus ads. I mean, look at the traditional YouTube ad discrepancy. 20K in a month over 140 videos versus 15K, not even pushing the token. So this just shows how powerful the flywheel could be for PumpFun, and this could potentially lead to a lot of streamers from other platforms going on to PumpFun to extract financial gain. And the more that they try and extract financial gain, the more users on the platform, the more of a flywheel and network effect it builds, because other streamers will realize, they'll copy them, they'll come on the platform. Like even after seeing Ran and Becker have these crazy numbers, I was keen to try it out. I still don't know whether I will or whether it aligns with my strategy right now, but if I'm feeling that way, other creators are probably feeling that way as well. So this flywheel can be quite powerful. we saw yesterday, PumpFun paid out $4 million in creator rewards, most of which went to first-time creators that are now able to realize the potential of their dreams. So 4 million is crazy, and this number will only be higher and higher as more people are streaming, and as the price of Pump goes up, the more they have in their treasury, the more they can give away. Obviously, that's not sustainable forever, but they've got enough to bootstrap this, at least in the short to midterm. The other caveat I'll get before we get onto the math and my exact pump trading plan and the way that you can make money off this is I just want to let you guys know that it's a little bit like friend tech in the sense that obviously your highest volume day is going to come on day one unless you keep pushing the token, because your first stream is going to get your token through the bonding graduation curve. Once it graduates, then it's going to find price discovery in the first day. Typically, the most volume comes in on price discovery day as the token finds its correct price. So I don't think Bitget could do 300,000 every day unless he kept giving people a reason to trade the token. So clearly those numbers are skewed towards the first stream. Also, they probably have a lot of viewers on these streams that are watching this for the first time to see if there's a money-making opportunity. So unless they keep pushing that narrative, naturally the fees are going to drop. Now, obviously, if you can find ways to be creative and keep pushing the narrative, which may actually open up risk because you basically become like the leader of a project at that point, which has its own risks. But if you do that, you could consistently make money. And I'm sure there'll be creators that do that, especially from the Web 2 world. They don't know much about crypto, or they're just money hungry. They'll want to do that. If you're a more seasoned crypto person like me, you definitely see the risk in doing that and becoming too attached to a token. But I just wanted to give you that caveat. It's a little bit like friend tech in the sense that during this first day or two, you're going to make a lot of your fees, and then it's going to slowly, gradually decline over time unless you actively push the token and trading volume. However, it's not going to be as much of a steep drop-off as friend tech. This is obviously more viral, so it's not the best example, but it just contextualizes how, I think of this. So I think these big creators, like Becca, probably couldn't do 300K every day, but it would slowly drop off unless he, really, really, really pushed it. However, the flywheel, I think, is super big for those who choose to push it. Like imagine if a rapper or, a musician or an actor, they basically said, X percent of trading volume they're going to pledge to their most loyal fans. Or even if they, bought up some of the supply, they could give it away to, a random person that buys a ticket to their concert, driving ticket sales. Like there are all sorts of ways that they can play this to benefit their brand and also incentivize people to hold the token. They could say people with over 10,000 tokens are going to go to a VIP meet and greet backstage at my next concert in LA. Like this is the kind of stuff these artists can start doing, and this is basically the whole premise behind NFTs a few years ago. So interestingly, streaming, it's more of a direct way to capture attention because you're interacting with the person. It could be a more direct way for these artists, for these creators to actually monetize and become more famous, and that's where this flywheel comes in. So basically, creating a token on PumpFun costs 0.05 Sol. The feed is paid in Sol, not the Pump token, so you don't need to hold Pump to launch a token. So this also benefits Solana. And then you kick off a bonding curve. So tokens start with a bonding curve where early buyers get lower prices. The more tokens that are bought, the higher priced goes. Approximately 800 million out of 1 billion supply are allocated to the curve. How does PumpFun make money from this initial bonding curve? Well, they earn through protocol fees. So every single trade, they take a fee, starting high for small caps and reducing as tokens grow. So there's a fee table that you can look at below. So as the token grows, they charge less fees over time, but they still make a fee. I think they're the most profitable app in crypto, doing over $1 billion in fees alongside Hyperliquid. So the product market fit has definitely been there, and this streaming niche has kind of, kick-started them after a lull for the past year or so. They collect a graduation fee of 0.015 Sol when tokens move to PumpSwap. Until the token graduates, even the LP fee portion is held by the protocol. Pump isn't required to launch tokens, but Pump has introduced features like fee sharing, airdrops, and creator tools tied to Pump holdings. And obviously, they're doing their buybacks as well. So the ultimate flywheel is the more people that are using the platform, the more that they're going to be able to generate in fees because they're making fees off all the trading volume. The more fees they make, the more tokens they're buying back. And that's where you get the speculative premium being placed on the chart. Like you can see here, it's repriced rapidly to the upside. And I think part of this rapid reshifting has been people realizing, there are applications like Hype in the market which are actually doing on a relative basis versus their market cap much higher multiples than Pump, which means Pump is undervalued on a multiples basis of market cap to revenue. So if you look at the annualized revenue, Pump right now is around a 3x, Hyperliquid's around a 12x. So there's still a discrepancy in the valuation based on the revenue market cap ratio between Pump and Hype, which means there still could be an opportunity in Pump. This number's slightly higher because the FTV is slightly higher since this table was made, but it would still be like a a 4x compared to, I think, even more for Hyperliquid now, like a 13x, because that's also gone up in price. So I think there are reasons for that. I think Hyperliquid's fee distributions are slightly more transparent than Pump. Pump is a little bit more discretionary, so there's more of a premium on Hype. And also Hyperliquid has just had, I think, better tokenomics. There was much less supply, obviously, a bit more of a fair distribution compared to Pump, which resulted in Pump going through a difficult time in the early days. But once a lot of that selling was flushed out, this revenue model has really started to shine. And I do think not all of this is based on buybacks. A lot of this is based on the speculation of future buybacks. So I guess how high Pump could go is based on the question of, how many creators are genuinely going to come on board. And this is something I'm very interested in, because if I start seeing celebrities, if I start seeing this broadening out from Becca around and other crypto creators, then this could be a really big narrative. But until that happens, I can't be top blasting here expecting big rappers and actors and big streamers and speed to come and stream on PumpFun. You do have to be a little bit conservative, and that's going to be reflected in my buy plan that I'm going to get to very shortly here. You can just, before we get into that, I want to just go through the relative market cap and market size of Pump versus other streaming platforms, because it's interesting to just look at the opportunity as a whole. So Pump actually flipped Rumble in terms of average number of concurrent live streams. It's currently at around just below 1% of Twitch's market share, and actually around 10% of Kick's market share. Kick has a lot of the biggest streamers on the planet, so that's already quite a big number. And you can see here that currently Twitch dominates the space at 15.7%. YouTube Live takes up 50%. TikTok Live takes up 27%. Kick is 3.7%. And then Rumble 0.5%. So Pump's in between Rumble and Naver, which is probably between 0.6 to 0.8%. So it's still a very small market share, but a very big flywheel. I don't think any other platform is going to offer you the ability to make that much in fees that quickly, which is why I could see this shooting up the rankings very soon to flipping Kick, or potentially getting closer to Twitch. Like, I can conceivably see this being the case, just given how powerful that flywheel could be with new creators coming on board. So if that's your logic, then Pump still, even at 8 billion FDV, and there could be an opportunity on the chart, which I'll get into now, it still could be an opportunity overall. So now let's get into how you can capitalize. There are three ways to capitalize. The first way to capitalize on this trend, which I think is quite an obvious trend. Like, I think if creators keep making money, if we keep seeing new creators come onto the platform, I do see this flywheel continuing. And if that's the case, there are three ways to capitalize. Firstly, Pump token itself. Now, yes, this was a hold that I talked about a week ago, so maybe not all of you saw this tweet. I also spoke about it in my Discord, Telegram. Maybe not all of you saw this, though, and haven't held Pump in your portfolio. And you're like, well, Mars, it's already pumped now. It's up like 80% since this tweet. It's too late. Let me give you a playbook, because I don't think it's too late. I think this can still go up a lot more, just given the opportunity at hand. But you also don't want to use that as an excuse to go crazy, ape into the token and, potentially top blast the token. What you want to do is play the rally-based rally game. So let's actually look at Athena before we look at Pump. Athena has been another really strong trend in the market. Now, this is an example of a trend to the upside, and this is a very classic upwards pattern on a coin, where you'll see these crazy runs. This is a run that Pump is on, then a consolidation, then a crazy run, then a consolidation, then a run, then a consolidation. I'll make the point and then I'll show you actually how you can enter. Crazy run, deep consolidation, actually a fake out to trap people below this wick low. So that would have de-risked a lot of people, but then you could get back in on the next retest, something we'll also talk about. Then you have another pump, another consolidation, another pump, another consolidation, another pump, another consolidation, another pump, another consolidation. You see how there's like 8 rally-based rallies on the way up to its peak, and then there was another pattern as well. This was a bit of chop. So this is just for the TA people out there. This is an uptrend. This is a sideways trend. So typically you don't want to be following this strategy in a range-bound environment. You want to play the uptrending environment on a coin. As soon as it hits a range-bound environment, you define your de-risk levels and your breakout levels, and you just chill until it breaks those levels. Obviously, your breakout levels are going to be at the prior high, so it never broke the high, so you never had a validation to get in, and your validation to get in on the base would have been invalidated, so you would have just been chilling in this range and moving up the timeframes to look at a higher timeframe entry, which I did on the H4, which is this red zone here. But then we go from a chopping environment back to another uptrending environment, and then, enters a chopping environment again. But the point is, when a token is finding price discovery, and it was a very similar thing on Hyperliquid, there's this very effective rally-based rally pattern for you to actually play. I'll show you on Hyperliquid as well, because it was a very similar story. And I know I'm on the 1 hour chart, but I think it's the best chart to actually demonstrate how this initial run happened. So I'm not talking about the recent run, I'm talking about this initial run, where it went from $8 to $20. So you could see the exact same pattern. It rallies, consolidates, rallies, consolidates, rallies, consolidates, rallies, consolidates. You get a bigger breakout. And obviously, if you move down the timeframes, the trend becomes even clearer. If you want to go into the daily, you can see basically it's just been an uptrend of rallies and then consolidations. So now let's go into the pump chart, and it obviously looks very similar to Hyperliquid and ENA, and discuss what you can do. The good news is this hasn't been running for that long, so in terms of time frame, you haven't missed out. You've obviously missed out on that first 3 to 4x, but an interesting thing's happening right now. You're getting the first consolidation. So typically with rally-based rally, what you want to do is you want to obviously define your high time frame levels, but then you want to work down the time frames from the hour. You can also use the H4 and work out confluence zones for you to bid with clear D-risk levels. Because what you don't want to do is, because we've already pumped from a macro perspective, you don't want to be getting in at the top of a move and then opening yourself up to a lot of risk. So any entry you take at this point, because it's not on a major dip and it's on an uptrend, you want to have an invalidation. For me, the easiest thing to do is draw the base of a rally. Now, the base is the level where you get the most price interaction. Clearly, it's this zone here at the 0.0077 level, so $7.7 billion FDV, I believe. This is a natural bid zone, and a close below this on H1, and you could maybe work up the time frame for a confluence on the H4 as a potential invalidation. You would enter and then cut below if you start to close below. But what you could also do is, because you've really got two options with these ranges, you can have an entry-based trigger at the range low, or you can have an entry-based trigger on the breakout, and often I'll combine the two. So I'll have 50% of my capital of my ideal trade going in on range low with invalidation on a close below on, let's say, H1 and H4, and then I'll have 50% reserved for a breakout. So if it sweeps the lows and then I get a nice entry here, and then we break out, then I get two entries. I'm sized here and here, so my overall cost basis is going to be in the middle of the range. Or sometimes what happens is you'll miss this, but at least you can then catch the breakout. I won't get too much into exact entry mechanics now, because you can look at deviation. So something Paradise talks a lot about, who's my head low time frame trader in the Discord. He'll wait for like a sweep and then get back in on reclamation, because these deviations like here are quite common. On the breakout, typically what you want to do is wait for a retest or consolidation above before you enter. So there's all sorts of nuance in terms of how you actually enter. But I guess the main thing I wanted to reinforce is the fact that you're looking at these consolidation ranges to form. Every time you go to the bottom of the range, you bid, you have invalidation below. And eventually, if you do see an uptrend on the token, so if it keeps trending like this, these are all ultimately just opportunities to accumulate. You have your accumulation zone here, you have your accumulation zone here, you have your accumulation zone here, and before you know it, you've had three of these ranges and the price has doubled, and you've actually captured that upside, and you haven't taken on crazy risk because you have invalidation. So that is basically how I would play a trending market on a hot coin like this. Now, the other thing that's very important is the fact we have FOMC. So you may actually see, let's say there's a bad bit of news that comes out, or the start of his conference starts to seem a bit shaky, or the market just doesn't like what Jerome Powell's saying. The market could wick to the downside, creating a temporary opportunity on the coin. So it may actually not perfectly validate your entry. It may do something like this, where it just flushes down, and then because it's a strong coin, it should have a strong V recovery. That's why sometimes it's smart just before big events like FOMC to set stink bids. I mean, you obviously would start by setting them at the bottom of the range, but you could even set some down here in this other cluster, this other gap here, which is your next level, but you would front run it slightly. So you would define the level. This was the breakout of the last range, and then you would probably front run a little bit in this zone here. So you can have two buy clusters, but obviously that bottom one is very unlikely to hit. But if you do get some crazy FOMC wick, which does happen, then you could potentially see price action even like this, which fakes a lot of people out, but you get a nice stink bid entry. This has been a way to make money really quickly in the market for me in the past, but you only want to do it on strong coins. Like, you wouldn't do that for a coin that's not so hot. You would only do that strategy on, coins like Pump, ENA, Hyperliquid, coins that have had strong rallies beforehand or have the propensity to bounce quicker than the rest of the market. So the same is true for MNT. The same is probably true for WorldCoin at the moment. The same is probably true for ONDO, PENGU. These are the types of coins you want to set stink bids on, because these will be the fastest horses out of the gate. And if you want to barbell that with like some much riskier plays, like some, low caps just to maybe take advantage of on-chain discrepancies and the fact that a lot of these will drop a lot harder than some of the majors, then you can also do that. But the quicker recoveries aren't going to happen on-chain. On-chain typically recovers after the major perp tokens like, Pump, Hyperliquid, etc. rally. So that's the first way to make money. A bit long-winded, but I gave you a comprehensive overview then. The second way to make money is actually through the creator coins. Now, this is a bit riskier, but what I'm saying is going on the streams of these creators and trying to speculate on price action. Now, obviously, Alex and Rand, they made a decision like not to pump their own tokens. It was, I think, more of an experiment for them. But if there is a creator that's you see is like actively pushing their token, and you can get in early enough based on relative valuations versus other creator coins, there is opportunities here. It's just a little bit risky. So my preferred thing is honestly just playing the leader, because I think in many cases the ecosystem coin like Pump is just going to outperform if the platform does well. Then you're not exposing yourself to individual creator coins. So I certainly wouldn't build a portfolio of creator coins, but it would be remiss of me to come on the show and not tell you to look for these opportunities, because I am. And I think some creators that come onto the platform, their audiences might not be aware of what's going on, but because we're in crypto and because we're in the know, we can front run these audiences. This is only in the event like big streamers and big celebrities actually came onto stream to make additional money. So that is one way to make money. The other thing you can do to actually spot creator coins is use an app like Cookie. You can also use Xsearch, but it's a bit messy, and use their smart feed. So the smart feed's very cool because you can search up Pump in the top right-hand corner, go into the Pump dashboard where you can track sentiment, mindshare, price, mindshare growth, etc. And on the right-hand side here, you're going to see good sentiment, bad sentiment, and smart engagement. Smart engagement is good because it's going to show you big creators that are commenting on Pump. And, Becca's live stream, for example, this popped up in the smart feed as soon as it happened. So that kind of lets you be ahead of the curve and understand that that this is about to happen. And then you can also look at other tweets, so good tweets, bad tweets, etc., and see when other big creators are getting on the platform. So this is a way that can help you scan things. Obviously, you want to use this in conjunction with X or X Pro to, look through your feed as well. Not expecting you guys to, snipe all the creator coins, but just if you want to be more in the loop, these are good features that you can use. I also use this for a lot of other coins, by the way, not just Pump, but I think it's a good way to just stay on track of the biggest creators and what they are saying and potentially help you spot some of these new launches as well. And then the final one, I talked about income earlier. The final one is a little bit, left field, but I've said this in the past, like one of the best ways to make money in crypto is actually through content creation. Even if you're just tweeting your thoughts, that could lead to opportunities. I mean, it led me to massive opportunities. I didn't think I'd be doing this. I didn't think I'd be running a crypto business. I didn't think I'd be full-time crypto, but it was created almost by accident because I was just sharing my thoughts with the public. Now, obviously, streaming is the next step of that. You need to be quite forward-facing. You need to be in the know or entertaining, one or the other. So it's a little bit harder, and the barrier to entry is a bit higher, but the money you can make is also a lot higher. So if you are someone that is, a public-facing person, if you have an interesting story to share, or if, you're just good at marketing in general and you think you can create good titles and topics for streams, becoming a creator right now might be the most profitable platform to do it on Pump versus other platforms. Obviously, YouTube's, in my opinion, still the king for developing and keeping an audience because YouTube's not going away. It's been ingrained in people's habits for over a decade, longer than that. But PumpFun, in terms of making money short term, you could probably build there, capitalize on quicker mindshare, and then funnel to other platforms like YouTube. That's just an idea for people that want to earn income and have been wanting to stream. Well, now there's probably a reason to do it, a much more compelling reason to do it sooner versus maybe what there was on other platforms. So that is my PumpFun Alpha and the 3 ways that I'm going to look to make money there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'll keep you updated with the entire ecosystem because it's likely going to evolve a lot over the next quarter. I want to end the show in a very fun way. We're going to go through Rapid Alpha. I've got Gem of the Day, and then we're going to go through just some altcoins that I've been interested in but haven't been able to share with you on the show yet. But we're going to go quickly. Gem of the Day was actually AVNT. Now, it is up slightly since then, so I would probably wait for a dip on this one. But this is basically a competitor to Hyperliquid. Has a 297 million market cap. It run up aggressively. But if this gets a big dip and put it in the same basket as Pump, like if this dips during FOMC for whatever reason, I'd have stink bids set on this one. It's on Bitget. Link in the description below if you want to sign up for Bitget. We actually have a very good campaign. You can win $40 in World Liberty Finance. So what you do when you join, you get $20 just for verifying, and then another $22, I believe, at current prices, just for depositing and opening a trade. So you can trade it on Bitget or any exchange for that matter. It's on Coinbase, it's on Upbit as well. The Koreans have been, I think, driving a bit of price discovery here. But AVNT, you can pause the video to look at my research notes that I share in the Discord first. I think this is a decent play, especially if we do get a dip on it. It's like the next best thing to Hyperliquid, but it's got a lot less users and a lot less revenue. So it's still extremely speculative, but it has the backing, the interest in the technology to maybe make something work in this space. So keep your eye on it. By the way, I'm not going to scroll down and leak all of this, but we're dropping extra gems of the day and extra research that I'm leaking from my amazing research team. I think over 10 to 15 people, over 10 people for sure, contribute research to my research group. And then I'm posting the best picks from them every day in the Interesting Projects channel in the Discord. So I'll link Mars High Club down below if you want to join, because I can't scroll because I don't want to spoil it for the members, but there are a couple really low cap ones as well that I post. So I'm sharing one every single day on the YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. But then extra ones are being dropped in Mars High Club as well. And obviously the gem of the day is posted in Mars High Club first before the YouTube show as well. You can see the thesis for Avantis. Won't take up too much of your time, but if you're interested, pause the video now and read through some of these points, because I think it is a compelling one, albeit it's run up a lot, so you'd probably want to wait for a dip. The next thing I'm researching a lot of is robotics. So this is a narrative that's actually outperformed the rest of the market. Whilst the rest of the market was dipping, robotics was continuing to go up, and you've seen over the past week, a lot of these have gone up, between 20 and 100%. Now, a lot of these are a little bit larpy, but there are ones I prefer. Like from this list, I prefer Edge. I think that one came down a lot, but is a good one. They're building a lot. We'll go through it in more depth in a future video, but that's probably one of my top picks here, and one that I still hold a decent bag of. CODEC is another one that I've recently started to DCA into a position. Luckily, it's doing pretty well over the last 48 hours. But overall in the week, it's roughly flat, maybe a little bit up. This is another one that I'd be looking at, especially, as I said, if you get any sort of volatility pre or post or during FOMC, and you want to barbell your perp V reversal kind of trades alongside riskier on-chain stuff, robotics is probably the number one narrative that I'd be looking at. I think it's hot right now, and on a market cap basis, a lot of these are super low, and a lot of these are vaporware, but there are a couple of good ones. Like for me, CODEC and Edge are two of the best in this list, but there are more. You can see a few picks here from Jeff. I'll be sharing more on the show. Actually, I am planning a dedicated robotics deep dive. I've just been really trying to get my research right first, but make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because that'll be coming on the channel probably within the next week, potentially the next few days. It just depends on what happens with FOMC, but I'm working on a deep dive there. Any of the smaller caps will be posted first in Mars High Club, so that's still my premium community if you do want to be a part of that and get obviously access to additional alpha from myself, but also all of our amazing analysts. Fabian did such great coverage on the FOMC, and he'll continue to post in his market commentary channel throughout all of these events, so you guys are updated and ahead of the curve. And the final thing I want to do in today's video is give away some money to people on my Bitget link. So at the end of each show right now, I'm doing a giveaway. We skipped it one day last week because I felt like we did a lot. We probably overdid it with the giveaways, but when I can, I'm going to do these at the end of the show, and I'm just going to pick two random people. So I've switched last minute here. You have one, user 271 ending in 80. I'll just zoom in so you can see it. If you want to just go onto your phone, in fact, all of you, if you're on Bitget, are going to need to do this. Go onto your phone, click on your profile, see if this is your UID. If it's you are going to win 271 ending in 80. You can see it there. And I'm going to scroll down and pick another person, which is 244 ending in 94. So you can see it here. You two have won $100 each. Make sure you check your UID. You don't need to do anything else. We're going to pass this straight to the team, and they are going to give you $100 airdrop straight to your account. To make sure you guys are eligible, because we're doing this very regularly on the channel at the end of the videos, make sure that you are signed up under my Bitget link. You can only win if you're under my Bitget link. And right now we have a very good promotion, because if you just sign up, you're going to get $20 of a trading bonus added to your account just for verifying. So if you just sign up and verify your identity, you're going to get $20. And then on top of that, if you just deposit $100 and trade $10, you can literally buy $10 of Bitcoin and then swap out of it if you want. Theoretically, you qualify for another $22 in a World Liberty Finance airdrop. So total, you're going to get $40 for minimal work. Probably 3 minutes of work, maybe 4 minutes of work. Not much to get $40. Probably the best hourly salary rate you'll get in most jobs. So link in the description below. to sign up for Bitget if you're not already, and that also puts you in the running for these giveaways that we're doing. And we're going to vary things up. Like I think at some shows we're going to double people's portfolios. So if you've got money sitting in Bitget, your portfolio may get doubled one day, and we're going to keep doing these fun campaigns. Link in the description below to all of the stuff that I mentioned in today's video. If you want to sign up for Mars High Club, if you want to trade on Bitget, I will see you in future videos. Hopefully you enjoyed today's alpha. Remember to comment, by the way, if you want to be in the running to win tomorrow's $500. Peace out.